Okay, we are live, and this is the Gun Channel's weekly wrap up, where we wrap up the week in gun related news or whatever news we happen to stumble across this week. And it's not all particularly about news. Schmeggy's got a good list of what we all like to do and watch the chats, so I guess we'll let Smeggy start it off.
All right, thanks, man.
Yep.
So, basically, I'm going to jump all the way back to last Sunday. I'm calling that kind of the beginning of the week, so that's when I started keeping track. So, oh, crap. Sorry, my phone shut the screen off. Anyways, so starting off with the Liberty Watch show and America Armed and Free, they had this guy on there who was kind of like a environmentalist, like science writer kind of person. Did you guys all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't like that show.
Oh, really? See, I thought that was one of his better ones. I really enjoyed it.
I think they overemphasized, the whole environmentalist thing than they did what they normally cover.
Well,
well, he's got to do a show every week, so you got to.
So you got to have some evil. I know.
Come up with some topics every week.
Right, and that's I don't know why you said he's someone evil. I mean, the guy wasn't like a super environmentalist hippie kind of person. He just researched some of the facts. He wasn't hardcore, the Earth's going to end tomorrow, but he also wasn't like, yeah, we can just do whatever we want, screw the planet, it'll be fine. He was kind of, in the middle, I thought.
Yeah, from what I took from it, his book was kind of dispelling the doom and gloom aspect of, like, the fear-mongering from the left, and then the total disregard from the right. He was kind of debunking both sides and giving it, like, a more realistic viewpoint, which is a very good thing, because you're always getting the extremes from both sides, and you're never really getting the cold hard facts.
Right. Yeah. That's that's kind of where I stand as well. And that's part of the reason I don't like the environmentalist type people is they go above and beyond, and it's always oh man, we got to have all solar power and this, that, and the other, and sometimes the stuff doesn't really add up. For example, like a fully electric car. They think, hey man, this is awesome for the environment. I'm not putting out any carbon. But the problem is they're charging it with electricity that's made from a coal plant, which means they're still putting carbon in the environment. It's just not them personally.
Right.
Well, that is the ones that aren't, charging the batteries via solar power, because some people are doing that too.
True. And if that's the case, then
you only have the carbon that you emitted from building the panels.
Yeah, but I don't think they're at that point in technology where those solar panels are efficient enough to run your car daily, and even if, like, you go a week...
No, you have to charge it for a day. That's about it.
Overcast.
And it also depends on the size of the system as well, because a standard car, electric car, like a Tesla, the battery is about 3.5 kilowatts when charged.
All right, yeah, well, that was a good radio show, I think, for not being what his usual topics was. He did that during both shows, right? He only did like a half hour of Armed and Free.
Yeah, it was about an hour and a half with the first guest. So, anyways, yeah, I thought it was good. People disagree. Hey, that's fine. That's the joy of the internet. You didn't like it, I did. So, anyway, so moving on then to Monday, Matt had his usual, geek chat. And the first half of it was about, Fear of the Walking Dead. I think we all agreed that it wasn't as good as the third episode, but it was better than the first two. That seemed to be the consensus. kind of boring, but still stuff going on.
Yeah, how many episodes are left? 2, I think.
Yeah, there's 6 total, so.
Okay, yeah, there's 2 episodes left, and
I've never watched it, but I just want to know what happens to the zombies in the end.
they all die.
They all live happily ever after. It's a twist.
They get old and die.
They're already dead. I mean,
Well, they die the second time. On another geek note this week on TV for geeks that like to watch TV shows, the Minority Report started, and I watched the first episode, and it seemed pretty good. For a first episode of a TV show, it was actually really good.
has anybody been watching the new Fox FX show, The Bastard Executioner?
No.
Yeah.
No, how is that?
I like it. I feel like it's a like Game of Thrones for network TV. Like it's kind of that style. I mean, there's not as much like magic and dragons and stuff, although there's kind of weird stuff going on. Like maybe they can, you know,
So
I don't know.
it kind of ties into all my last Second Amendment chat, or because I mean it happens during Edward II, which I mean everybody knows Edward the First. But Edward was, if you watched Braveheart, that was Edward Longshanks. Fought William Wallace at Falkirk and Stirling, and it ties in because that show, Bastard Executioner, is Edward II, which is Longshanks' son, and then Edward III, the grandson, under his reign, which is after the show, they passed the Statute of Northampton, which is what the Brady campaign cites as for people not being allowed to carry arms. So that's the time period, and that's how it ties in. So it was just, they're going back a ways, and somebody needs to actually, out them that, okay, we're talking about like, and when I sent the letter to the UK government about to the tower, that's the same tower that they hung Robert the Bruce's sister outside of for like a couple years, her body, because she appointed anyway.
Anyway, indeed. Yeah, that's interesting. So, and then the second half of Matt's chat was all about the refugees and all that kind of stuff, and the chat kind of devolved a little bit. I guess if you like seeing arguments, you could watch it, but it was mostly like, they took our germs.
So anyway, the next time the Brady campaign puts a filing, and I was happened to be reading the Drake case, but it's probably in each and every one of their filings, and they cite the Statute of Northampton. All you have to do is wave a sword, and what did he say? What did Mel Gibson say before they charged? It's like, you can take our lives, but you'll never take our guns, or something like that.
You'll never take our freedom.
Never take our 30-round mags, I think was what it was.
Well, that's what the people said in California.
So it's like, well,
You can take our wives. Okay, take our wives. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, okay, we give up. You probably know best.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Anyway, so
Tuesday, I don't know what other shows were on Tuesday that aren't gun
missed,
channels.
Okay, you
specific.
missed my chat. But, okay.
Oh yeah, we'd talk about your chat because that was pretty interesting.
What was my chat on? Was that the UK one, or
I think that was
No, that was the
That was last
the
week.
week before.
This week you were talking about Trump's position on guns.
Oh, right,
yeah,
Trump's
yeah.
gun position, right. That was interesting. Go listen to it. All right, moving on to Tuesday.
That's something that you and Yankee both agree on.
Well, I wouldn't know because I banned him. I banned Yankee Marshall from my channel. So
You're so judgmental.
well, it's just that I don't The only thing that I don't like worse than listening to idiots is arguing with them.
I
So,
feel like you guys can hug it out one day.
well,
And
you'll
if
have to
that
come to
happens,
Hawaii for that.
we'll make note of it and reference that in the weekly roundup.
Well,
Today,
It would definitely be a
rainbows
feature.
flew out of unicorns' asses, and Hawaii and Yankee became friends.
buried the bullet.
So Hawaii had a nice chat on Trump. I still don't know if I trust him, but he said all the right things.
Well, the right things were all written down in his Second Amendment position paper, and I await the other candidates' Second Amendment position papers. With as soon as they put one out, I'll do a show on him. But he was the first one who actually has a Second Amendment paper, which I assume was written with the help of the NRA. So that's a chat worth listening to.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that Clint Eastwood actually wrote that for him. It was worded really, really good.
I don't know if it was Clint Eastwood that did that. Then
Well,
that
he can
gives
hire
Trump
him.
even more legitimacy. You know.
Well,
Clint
he's got
Eastwood.
the money. He's got the money to hire a good screenwriter. And
Well, Clint Eastwood is not.
Clint Eastwood and Ted Nugent worked together on it. It was a co-op piece.
Neither of them are screenwriters, so.
well, Clint Eastwood is a screenwriter.
No, he's
No,
not.
he's a director.
He's
He's an
both. He writes, he acts,
director.
directs, and screenwrites.
He's not a no. Who do you think wrote "Get Off My Lawn"? That movie. That wasn't him. No, that was somebody else's screenplay. He is not a screenwriter.
Well,
Get off-
He may have tried
he's-
it, but
He's good at adapting, we'll say. Okay.
he's good at delivering a film on budget, under budget, and on time. He's a very good producer, director, actor, but screenwriter, nope.
Well, I don't know any of those guys that never get credit for their work, their names, so I'm just going to say Clint Eastwood. So what happened Tuesday?
Okay, so I believe Big Gunner had a chat, and I have to say I didn't watch it, so I'm not sure.
Oh, I did watch it. It was pretty good. He had the one of the founders of Three Gun Nation on, or maybe she wasn't the founder, but she was the director of
Seeing
something.
Arsenal.
She was definitely a big part of the Three Gun Nation, and you got a little history in that chat about Three Gun and how it started.
Yeah, that was the other one.
It was pretty good.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting. I'll have to go back and try and find it.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know if
it's
it's
hard
posted on
sometimes.
this channel, but if you sub to him, it's definitely on his YouTube channel as his last
Right.
show.
Yeah, I do. You know, what happens sometimes, you'll get these channels that put out like 22-minute videos or something, like all on the same day, and it just buries everyone else's stuff, and sometimes, I forget to scroll back a few pages.
Yep.
And I think I was busy this week with work, so I didn't have as much time to watch the chat, so I did miss a couple.
It's hard to keep up with everybody's video, if you.
Right. Well, and that's what's nice about something like this. We can remind everyone out there listening what was on, and if it sounds interesting, they can make a note to go back. Like, that sounds interesting to me. I'll probably watch it tomorrow afternoon because I'll have free time.
Yeah, it was a pretty good show. I mean, he said it didn't go the way he planned perfectly, but what does? And I think he underestimates himself a little because he's got a pretty good show going on. I hope he keeps up the good work.
He tries to get big guests. I think that's his thing. So.
Well, that's kind of what people want to watch.
Yeah, and he does it very professionally. I mean, it's like a radio show would be broadcast. He keeps it on topic pretty well. Oh, crap.
You got a phone call.
No, I got a trivia crack announcement. I'm sorry about that if it came through. I don't know how much it does on my phone.
Trivia crack?
Yeah. It's a pretty fun game. Basically play against people, you gotta answer a bunch of questions, and then you get like you win the category after you answer 3 questions about it or whatever.
So then I think Tuesday night lobby was completely dead, and we wasted Pink's vacation for Tuesday. He had to
And
go work on a motorcycle.
And by the way, I've been entering that Springfield Armory contest every day, and I never win anything. So, and I keep voting.
I went and looked at the list of the people that won M1As, and 3 states of which, totally pinged. One of them was a guy in California, and they're going to have to put a bullet button on that rifle because it's technically one of those rifles that has to have one. Then there is one in Illinois, and I don't know if that county in Illinois that it goes to is a restricted one, but some counties in Illinois restrict magazines as well. And then there's one guy, I think it was in, was it New Jersey, I think?
I don't think in California, since that gun has a fixed stock, and if the muzzle device is pinned and welded, I don't think he needs a bullet button.
No, he needs a bullet button. All M1As need bullet buttons in California.
I don't know. There's 3 evil features, and you get to pick 2 that you can't have and 1 that you can.
What kind of shit is that?
Yeah. I was reading up on it the other night. And we definitely had a couple guys from California that had those weird AR pistol grip stocks where it's like a horizontal pistol grip, so it's not deadly and vertical like Dianne Feinstein says. It's easier to shoot from the hip.
Deadly and vertical.
So if you put that on and get a fixed stock, then you can bypass your bullet button. But if you want a real pistol grip, and you still need a fixed stock because you have to pick one. You can only have 1 evil feature out of the 3.
I was watching like one of the Drugs Inc. or something, a new episode, and they had rappers in San Francisco, and they didn't seem to have any problem at all getting guns.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Because it's illegal.
They deal crack on the side too. So,
Or their props.
That's how they get there. Well, no, there's the real rappers, and then the rappers who deal crack and then spend the money in the recording studio that they make because they want to make it in rap. I mean, but they didn't have any problem getting guns or crack in San Francisco, both of which are illegal. Even though I read that the last legal gun store in San Francisco has closed because there were just too many regulations.
Yeah,
that's actually a good
That's one I was going to bring up.
That was in my notes also. So, but anyways, we can shoot through these chats real quick, and then we'll switch over to news. So I think that brings us over to Wednesday, which We Like Shooting was on Wednesday. They had a guy that was, what was he? He was like a Army Ranger or something. I forget exactly.
He was Special Forces.
Yeah, something. Honestly, I listened to that today at work and was busy, so I kind of tuned out through half of it. And then they had their normal shenanigans. I don't really remember anything necessarily notable, but it's always a fun show. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't watch that chat yet, so I have nothing to comment on that.
Yeah, it's pretty much more of the same. Like I said, nothing that stood out to me, but it's always good. I'm not trying to say it's bad.
It's good. Wednesdays are a little crazy because I always forget at least one chat to listen to.
Oh, yeah, and then Matt had a chat. Never Enough Ammo. I keep saying Matt, but the Never Enough Ammo channel. I didn't watch that one.
I was in that one, but I couldn't tell you what it was about because I can't remember.
So okay, so everyone out there go watch that one and let us know what it was about.
I can tell you what happened on Thursday.
Yeah, we're getting there. Let's see. Also on Wednesday, the Shooter's Mindset didn't have a show this week, so that's just something to note. Are there any other chats on Wednesday that I'm forgetting? 'Cause that's all I have written down.
I think that's it.
Okay. So then, moving over to Crash and Burn on Thursday, they were going to have a guest on that was about knives, and Hawaii got very excited. And then the guy didn't show up because of technical problems.
I think he didn't show up because Hawaii was so excited about it. He wanted to mess with him.
No, actually, he has a really great. I would have just been happy if they would have just screen shared all the cool knives on Knife Ship Free, which is his company, because they had a lot of real great knives on there, and I would have just been happy to drool over.
So is he
like a
is he
couple
a
hours.
vendor? Is this guy like a vendor, or does he make knives?
No, I don't think he makes knives. He's a vendor for sure. I just was the only thing I don't know is does he actually have all those knives in stock that are, or do they, or just showcasing them and then they ship.
Well, maybe they'll have them on a different week. I know they mentioned something in the chat. They're going to have some more
Keep
knife
around,
people.
Keep around. But Knife Ship Free, actually, I was surprised at the quality of. It's a pretty high quality set of a bunch of knives that they have on that. But basically, Blade HQ has some decent knives, mid-range knives, some expensive knives, and the same company has Blade Play, which is all the cheap stuff, and that's all out of Utah. But that Knife Ship Free had really high quality stuff. So I mean, Elmex steel, some really great bushcraft knives.
I'm more of a bayonet man myself.
Bayonets aren't knives.
No, they aren't, but they're still good.
I posted a World War II picture of one of those at Guadalcanal, of the original. They have a long bayonet before they shortened it. That was in 1943. He's on grassy knoll. I've been posting a bunch of stuff from the Denver Post. Just some great, rare World War II pictures that people might not have seen. And they're all on the front page of Gun Channels. Post from member.
All right. Well, we also had Tech Daddy, had Trigicon, and someone from Georgia Optics on. I can't say I watched it. I just wrote down the title. I'm sorry, I'm really slacking since I said I was going to try and keep track of all these live shows, and I haven't watched half of them.
Yeah, not a problem because Stone Guy told us all that Tack Daddy wasn't having a show last night, so
Yeah.
none of us tuned in.
No, I listened to Stone Guys and Yankees shooting left to center last night.
I thought it was a pretty bold move for Stone Guy to come in and take Tack Daddy's time slot. So big ups to Stone Guy.
Well, it was also bold his topic.
Yeah.
Which was basically like an atheist chat or something.
See, they named it "How Not to Be Religious."
How to piss
I think
off
he
the
went
Pope.
back and renamed it, but he renamed it that. But in the beginning, it was something different.
They were discussing on religion and whatnot, and yeah.
I was in there too, and I was hoping for like a more philosophical discussion about atheism, but what we got was basically a lesson on the differences between religions and a little bit of history on each one. So
from Stone Guy?
It wasn't really what I expected from an atheist chat, but there can always be a part 2, and I hope that he does another. I hope he does a sequel.
Actually, I found it refreshing, and granted, yeah, there was some heated debate in there, but pretty much they all had good, interesting points to say on the subject of itself. So, I would say if you want to listen to that kind of thing, go ahead and watch it. If you don't, skip it.
Well, so you had Stone Guy and Tack Daddy and Yankee left of Lennon.
Yep.
Basically,
Yeah,
Yankee went and rehashed everything over that whole kid bringing the clock to school thing, and he even carried that into
And
the
that
nightly
turned out
chat.
to be bullshit or something, right? Because the guy's father is like some.
Some activist or something.
So it was it was also set up for
but
whatever.
Yankee did start out his chat talking about Trump's Second Amendment paper.
Oh well, that thanks him for stealing my shit. I guess he must listen to my chat, so that's one viewer.
Don't
Yeah.
worry, Hawaii. We'll one up him on Monday.
Well, I mean, he can steal my chat for what I talked about knife rights. I just posted something today on the Second Circuit Court, but it's no big deal. It's just a
I thought,
standing.
yeah, I
What?
thought his view on Trump's paper was a little, I don't know, it was a little out of
Wishy-washy.
context for a Yankee. But I would expect that, a lot of the other candidates, not a lot, but particularly Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, they have pretty much the same stance on the Second Amendment, except when they talk about it, there's no publicity given to them. But when Trump talks about anything, of course he's going to get like all the major headlines.
Well,
And especially, it wasn't even mainstream that gave him the headlines. It was pretty much
he's
all of the
fighting with Fox
conservative.
now. He doesn't want to appear on any Fox shows anymore.
And that's fine because Fox is kind of like they don't know what they are anymore. They're not conservative, they're not left. They're trying to be moderate. They're trying to appear as fair and balanced, but I don't know.
Well,
They're kind of hard to pin
when
down.
Republican gets nominated, that's who they'll be for. Believe me.
It's just another huge media outlet, but supposedly directed at conservatives. And
Well, I just think that Trump is going to actually have to talk to anchors at some point or another, whether he likes them or not. So, you can't just beat him on
he's
the press.
supposed to be on the Jimmy Fallon, the Late Show.
He's
So
not exactly an anchor.
yeah, but that it should be entertaining either way.
Yeah, but at some point, I guess, when's the next Republican debate?
I don't think there is anymore. Is there a third one?
There
Well,
better
there's
be.
like 20 of
There's
them
like a year to go or something, isn't there?
I don't know why they started their debate so early.
because they had a million people.
Right.
They had to have a couple people drop out, which a couple people have dropped out so far, and I don't remember who, but I know a couple of them have.
And then Yankees chat kind of devolved into the kid with the clock bomb, and it was a big argument for like 45 minutes of arguing over whether the kid's rights were being trampled on, and
And then it carried over into the live chat.
it was entertaining.
Then it goes into the lobby, right? So.
It was
it actually
entertaining, but
continued
I
in
don't
the
think
lobby.
anybody learned a lesson. On the
Which-
Well,
show.
the lesson is don't go into the lobby, but when Yankees there. But.
No, I didn't stay up super late, but from what I've been told, that the lobby from the 24th is basically a big epic chat kind of moment.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of people in last night, and the lobby's been kind of dead all week, so it was kind of refreshing to have as many people as we did. And I was in earlier than I left to go eat some pie, and then I just listened to the chat from the couch. But
Well, the pie eating
it was definitely interesting, and it kept getting more interesting. And then the 8 hours was up, and
before you know it, 8 hours.
I ducked out kind of early last night because I needed to get some sleep.
All right. So what's the next chat now? So we cover. Wait. So we had left of.
That pretty much wrapped us up all the way through late night Thursday. So I don't know if I missed any. That's all I have written down. You guys out in the chat.
I think that's pretty much it, except for
Friday had the edge on the flashlights. And the only thing I would add is that of all the flashlights, including the one Dano posted a ways back, I mean, a lot of the expensive ones, they have magnets in the base so they could stand up on a metal table or something and not fall over. But I mean, that is like the worst feature because they just fuck up all your compasses, and so it's just, it just get some cheap aluminum thing, and you're better off than with any of these expensive. I mean, who would put a magnet in a? I mean, I guess if you're a law enforcement officer, if you never ever need a compass, fine. But I mean, so many of these knives have magnetic bases, so they can have that feature, and it's the most stupid thing to put if for a hiking or bug out or anything bag, because it'll screw up all your compasses. And I mean, nothing's more basic that you need to have than a compass, especially around here. If you go in the jungle, it all looks the same 10 feet in. I mean, it all looks the same. So.
So
Anyway,
the only other show from last night was Fate of Destiny. I don't know how many people tune into that, but
I don't really.
I'd like to give it a try because I never tune into it because I'm usually waiting for other chats. But she's a gun girl, and
yeah, but she's
she
not on
probably
gun
has.
channels, is she?
Oh, she does it through live stream.
Yeah,
GunChannels is just linking to it or whatnot.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what they do with, but she doesn't have like a, She's not signed up for gun channels, I think. Is she?
No, I don't think she is.
Well, she'd probably have to sign up so people could talk to her and ask her questions and stuff. So
she's still like a huge supporter of gun rights and G-Webs and all of them. So in my book, she counts.
Exactly, and that's
Oh yeah, no, she does.
gun channel
She's
stuff.
like one of the only legit females in the gun community on YouTube that actually does a show weekly. So,
which also that kind of reminds me of one that I did miss. Forgot to mention. It's kind of what we're doing right here, but This Week in Guns, they always go through all the news and they have links to all the stories, and then they, always do like a gear review, and that's a really good show if you guys aren't watching it.
what show is that?
This Week in Guns.
Oh yeah.
It's on like the Firearm Radio Network.
Which I need to change the title to this because that's kind of what I named this. It was like Gun Channels Week in Guns, September 25th, but that's I'll change it.
Put a plug to one of my YouTube channels, or that I follow?
No, not allowed.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna cry. No. If anybody is interested in history, there's a channel on YouTube called what is it? It's about World War I, and they do World War I from week to week. Othias from CN Arsenal has done a couple of the guns in World War I. I think they call it the Great War. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to look at it. Some of it's a little boring because, as I said, they go from week to week of the war, but it's very interesting. So I just wanted to plug that one because more people should learn about World War I instead of just World War II.
Cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people on gun channels that would be interested in that kind of thing. And I want to give a little credit to Pink in the chat for reminding me about Lola, Tactigirl Lola. She actually did a show this week where she had a guest and they discussed IO, Interordnance, the AK builders. I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet, but I'm going to listen to it, and it sounds pretty interesting. So I don't know if they changed their quality or it's getting better or it's getting worse. But I'm looking forward to listening to that replay. And that's another female that is also worth listening to when it comes to her live shows.
There's a couple of girls in Crash and Burn, too.
Yes, there are.
I'm not saying they're not worth listening to. I'm just saying these girls, like Fate of Destiny, Tactigirl Lola, are doing all of this on their own without any help. You know what I mean? They're actually like
Well, Fate of Destiny, she got started with
Or YouTube channel.
her YouTube channel, and Hickok 45 helped her. So
Eh, not
quite a
really,
bit.
but all right.
Not really. Well, go back to like the beginning of her channel, and
Yeah, he
yeah,
gave her shout outs and stuff like that and named
they
her
did
as one of
videos
his top
together.
channels. But Hickok really only he admits to only subscribing to like 10 gun channels because he doesn't have time to listen to anybody else. But anyway, moving on from the gun chats to gun news, and we're gonna stick with you, Hawaii, because you had
Oh,
some news about knife rights, and
oh, it
this
was
is an
just
American Circuit Court case.
Second Amendment, Second Circuit Federal Appeal Court, Knife Rights Foundation. Basically, Second Court just gave them standing, and revert, and the lower court said they didn't have standing to have the constitutional issue about knife carrying ruled on, um, because they hadn't been charged with anything, and it was basically, well, I linked it on the Gun Channels uh, news news page. I'll just read you the important the uh, part of the opinion, the relevant part that it kind of applies to everything, including guns. Let's see, 35-page decision. Skip to the end. It's always better if you skip to the end. You don't have to read all the way through it. It can be dry reading. MedImmune versus Genentech. When they start citing precedents, your eyes can start to kind of roll over and stuff. But let me just get down. Jesus. Susan B. Anthony.
I have a couple of those coins.
I understand she's on some currency.
Okay. Failure to demonstrate standing. Blah, blah, blah. You got to get to the part that says conclusion.
So what was this like? Lay it down for us. What was this about? About carrying knives, or the right to carry certain knives,
Yeah,
or
well,
not?
basically that in New York that they can just see that they can. There's no set standard. There's a vague standard. If some unnamed person can flip a knife, and then it's illegal basically, and it's just so naive or vague, that there is no standard because it's too vague, and they basically. The important thing beyond that, which they didn't rule on that. They ruled on the part that because the company, the Knife Rights Foundation, and some leather companies and knife making companies, who are also plaintiffs, can't hadn't actually been charged with anything yet, that they didn't have standing, which was and basically the court ruled that because they were under the threat of prosecution, based on them selling uh, uh, knives, their products, that they did have standing. Uh, and Yep.
So this is a
Here, I'll read
California
it.
case.
No, this is well, let me read it. I'll go. I'm not. It's on page 34 of 35 naturally, so I have to scroll all the way down. No, it's not California. It is Second Circuit is back east somewhere. Yeah, it says it's New York. It's New York.
Okay, even better because New York has like crazy, stupid knife laws.
Right, and that's what they're. So here's to summarize. We conclude as following: plaintiffs Native Leather, Copeland, and Perez have standing to challenge defendants' application of New York penal law because each has expressed a present intent to possess such knives, but for defendants' challenge enforcement actions, and each has demonstrated a credible threat of prosecution based on defendants' A. recent enforcement actions against them, B. express threat to prosecute Native Leather further under terms of a deferred prosecution agreement, and C. continued defense of the wrist flick test that allegedly prompted plaintiff's past violation charges.
Yeah, this is their whole gravity knife thing where if you can flick it open with the flick of your wrist, it's bad and evil.
Right. Well, I don't know if they're calling it a gravity knife, but they're calling it illegal. I mean, don't ask me to explain New York's law. I've already, posted. I mean, they passed a law against table salt, so, you know.
It's basically anything that you can open with one hand, I believe, right?
And they also want to tell you how to how much sugary drinks you're allowed to intake.
Well, basically, they're making all the restaurants print up new menus, and putting a salt shaker by anything on the menus with anything with too much salt. They tried to ban salt completely for restaurants from adding salt to their food. I mean, which is just
Tyrannical.
Hey,
Because I love salt, and I need it pretty much on all my food that's not dessert.
But have you ever seen who's that guy? Have you ever seen Water's World on O'Reilly? Because he just keeps, he interviews these people in New York because that's where their, I guess, offices are. A lot of the time, he just goes out to New York, and everybody there is just so fucking blank, are just blanks. They have no brains at all. He asks them like basic questions, like who's George Washington, or something really easy, and they're just clueless. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
So here's a story that was in the headlines this week. Two peanuts walked into the bar. One of them was assaulted.
I heard that one about the pretzels too. It was like the week before.
I think you're twisting the facts.
I smell conspiracy.
But I've stated my opinion on New York and Uber on another. Uber is going to China now, or so, apparently. They're so maybe they'll.
All right, Night Strike had something he wanted to add for this week.
Okay, well, I was going through a couple news feeds, and apparently a guy who was in a court case in 2013, he had a what you call it, a protective court order on him or something, and they confiscated his entire gun collection. It was like, I think, 21 guns. One of them was the M1 he got from the M1 carbine he got from his grandfather, who served in World War II. But when he went to go and get his guns back, they refused to give him his M1 back, saying that it was an assault firearm, not an assault weapon, not an assault
state?
rifle, assault firearm.
What
And
state was this in?
This is in New Jersey.
Oh yeah, well that makes sense.
But here's the thing. I don't know why they would do that. I mean, just don't give him the magazines, but they should give him the rifle back because it's a stick. It's an M1. It's not an M2. It's not an M3. Those were select fire. It's just the regular M1 rifle, which was semi-automatic only.
Yeah,
I didn't like
has
that.
one. My dad has one. I can't wait to inherit it.
I want one.
My dad sold his M1.
But yeah, that's pretty messed up. I mean, Jersey's got some pretty messed up laws.
Actually, he traded it for a Ruger, and I'm so pissed at him. But
I know one of our guys in the text chat right now, Robbie, he lives in Jersey, and he's under that tyrannical regime over the wall from Pennsylvania. So he might have a little more insight on why exactly they wouldn't give him back his, my air quotes are going, assault and
Firearm.
carbine. But I'd say it fits the description of a New Jersey compliant weapon. I mean, it doesn't have a collapsible stock. It has a detachable 10-round magazine. If you want to get 10-round magazines for it, and it doesn't.
Maybe it had the rumored 20.
It doesn't even have a muzzle device on it. So there you go. It's New Jersey compliant. I don't see why they wouldn't give it back to him, but maybe there's just something I don't know about the case that I haven't read for myself.
Yeah, they didn't say that either. But either way, not giving someone the rifle back, it's an M1. It's probably a military stock M1. So, I don't see why it wouldn't, because it's an 80-year-old rifle. I mean, we're gonna say an 80-year-old rifle is an assault weapon. What the hell?
Robbie's saying the carbine is a no-go here in New Jersey. I'd like to know exactly why, since it doesn't fall under any of the deadly features that other states prohibit. But yeah, that's kind of fucked up or
It
messed up.
is.
So part of my language.
Wait, how many deadly features is a gun allowed to have?
None.
It depends on what state you're in.
Like a
A
barrel?
gun only has one deadly feature, and that is bullets come out one end very, very fast.
Yeah, a barrel. A barrel.
The M1 is banned by name. So they have a list in Jersey of what you can and cannot have, and the M1 apparently is on the list of guns that you cannot have.
Which is wrong. He probably got it before that law was put in place.
But then again, you don't know if Jersey has their own specific grandfathering law. So if it doesn't, then the guys
Well, they take your gun and then
SOL.
you sue them to get it back. I mean, there's a lot of that going around. I mean, at some point, you just got to say, you know what, I'll follow all the constitutional laws.
But I
you
do
guys
know
passed,
that there
and
was.
none of them are constitutional. So
I don't know if this would apply in this case, but for felons that are going into prison or have been convicted as a felon, it was a Supreme Court ruling earlier this year that they have the right to keep those weapons until they sell them to somebody that is authorized to buy them. So in this case, I think if he had a good enough lawyer, he might be able to
maintain ownership of them. You give it to
maintain the ownership of it until he finds somebody that's not prohibited to buy it out of state. Because it looks like even in state they wouldn't be able to have it since it's not on their allowed list in New Jersey.
So all this stuff brings me back to that drugs Inc. or whatever show where basically the rap band, the guys on, the guys on, like, first, let's see, he takes the syrup, which is like a downer, and then he needs cocaine to get him back up for the show, because he's supposed to produce it for all the rappers who are smoking, like, who have, like, 10 pounds of weed or something. So and then so they have to call the real drug dealers in who bring the cocaine, because he needs to get back up from the downers. And that's called speedballing, doing downers and uppers and stuff. And I mean, so it's basically a straight ticket to a heart attack. But I don't know. It's just, and of course, all the rappers and the drug dealers all have guns, and since guns, we're saying the San Francisco gun store closed, the last one, San Francisco closed, but everybody in San Francisco still that wants one still has guns and drugs. So
there was one other major thing that happened this week that some people find major, some people don't know about yet, but it happened, and that was the ATF categorizing the can launcher as an SBR.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
And that's got some people up in arms, and it's got the company that originally designed it going back to the drawing board to try to make it. I'm thinking they're going to have to make it 18 inches since it's a smooth bore. And then again, it's not a lower, so it's not a registerable firearm part. So I don't really know the specifics of how they're going to handle that, other than it would have to stay in a properly licensed shop until you actually buy it and fill out your tax form for it.
I think the item itself is not necessarily, restricted or whatever. It's kind of like an upper with a 10-inch barrel on it. There's nothing wrong with an upper with a 10-inch barrel.
Right.
As soon as you attach it to a lower, now you've made an SBR. So you would have to SBR one of your lowers, and then you'd be able to put the cannon on it.
So is that what it is? Because it still does have a smooth bore, and according to the NFA definitions, it wouldn't exactly be an SBR, it would be a destructive device.
They said you can't do the SBR route. this week. So
Right. So it looks like we're just going to have to wait. You can't. There's no sense in buying one until the company that designed it actually goes back to the drawing board and redesigns it to work with a. And I think they're going to need to go to 18-inch or higher barrel for it to be completely over the counter legal.
Does it? Are they going to restrict what kind of Coke can you can shoot? I mean, do you have to get one of those small Coke cans, or can you shoot one of the big ones? Or
I mean, don't give them any ideas, but I wouldn't put it past them.
I mean, can't we just make like suppressors out of like Coke bottles anyway? You know, plastic Coke bottles. You know, kind of work. But
Well, I guess what I'm curious about, and this is a legitimate question, I do not know. Those grenade launchers that you can attach like underneath the barrel. It's kind of a similar thing, only it's launching a Coke can instead of a grenade. What are those classified as? Can you own those? Are those just things that you can have?
yeah, I remember Iraqi veteran did something on that. I remember Barry did when he was still alive. Did video on those.
I think I'm not sure. I think you can just buy them straight up if they're 37 millimeters and under.
Okay, so how big is a Coke can then? Is it less than 37 millimeters?
Yeah, I mean it's bigger than 37 millimeters, so you can't exactly fit a Coke can in there, but you can buy those things and launch like the chalk projectiles or the wooden projectiles. You just can't have like an actual explosive projectile
So,
unless you individually register each projectile that you buy for it. So you would
I mean,
be
if you want to make a paper, all you need some paper, mache, and gunpowder and a fuse. I mean,
sure, anybody can break the law and turn these things into whatever they want, but if you're going by the NFA definitions or the ATF's opinions, then you're doing it a certain way to follow the law. And yeah, and there's not too many stories of gang members out there with rocket launcher or grenade launchers attached to their M16s shooting up the neighborhoods. So there's really there's really nothing to go off of
right.
based on illegal uses of that.
Right. I think we all agree that it's all BS. I was just trying to make the comparison between the can cannon and that, because it's basically a big tube that's less than 16 inches. But apparently the the can cannon is probably bigger in diameter than the 37 millimeters. So then that falls into the destructive device thing because it's too big or whatever. Which is still weird then why they go with the SBR. So I don't know. It's all mixed up. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, it's just getting too confusing to keep track of whatever the latest bullshit that we're not supposed to be able to do is. I mean, you know.
Definitely. Well, to bring up some positive news then, something that came out, the DC, it was like a group of laws in DC, and some of them got, found to be okay, and some of them got struck down.
Heller 3.
Oh, okay, 3 of them. So one of them being you used to only be able to buy 1 gun a month, and that got struck down as being ridiculous. The other part of it was...
I don't think I could live with that. I definitely couldn't live with that.
I couldn't either.
Well, I've never bought more than 1 gun a month, but it was just because I don't want to spend money like a freaking idiot, but not because,
Are you calling me an idiot? Because it was Christmas all year round for me, and it's still going.
He's calling you out.
Is it raining money over at your house or something?
Maybe, but maybe I'm working hard for it, so,
I want to live at your house.
How many guns do you buy a month? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know. 2?
How many?
Or
on average, I haven't bought any in August or September, so I'm taking a break kind of from buying guns. But from January till July, I was averaging two a month.
Yeah, I just never bought more than one gun a month in my life. But I mean, not that yeah, if I actually I did buy the first time I bought my 1911. I also bought that piece of shit Ruger that nobody wants to hear my Zuma Canyon story again. But I bought two at the same time.
So there you go. You
There
wouldn't
you
have been
go.
allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But that was back in that was 29 years ago. So that was before all this stupid shit happened.
I think that's before mine and Smeggy's time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, another part of that was struck down. See, because in DC you have to register all your guns, and what they tried to make you do is every 3 years you had to re-register all of your guns.
Just for the record, why would anybody buy a gun in D.C. if you could buy a gun in a neighboring state and then just drive across and then not have to register them?
That's illegal.
Well, I mean, okay, it's illegal, but so what? Is the law constitutional?
Okay, so anyways, GunChannels lawyers would like to note that Hawaii does not speak for any of its members.
The opinions of Hawaii are just that, the opinions of Hawaii Volcano Squad.
Well, I just think it's important to follow every constitutional gun law.
I agree. I mean, nobody's fighting you on that. It's just we all have different ways of going about fighting it.
Right. And I think it's important to note when the law does come back our way. So instead of having to do maybe some shady things that are morally correct but legally wrong, I'd rather them be legally correct. So I'm happy for the people in DC that they got a little bit of freedom back.
I just think that we need to carefully define what is a constitutional gun law. That's all. Because I think we have a lot of unconstitutional ones all on the books.
I agree.
And that's the problem, is all the unconstitutional gun laws. And if they're unconstitutional in one state, they're unconstitutional in every state. So, like if a gun law if one state has a law, that's the problem. Waiting for the courts to figure things out. The courts don't want to legislate gun laws, and the legislators don't want to legislate gun laws. So nothing ever gets done, unless there's an election and somebody actually writes a paper, and if you have if all the Republicans get elected, then maybe something will happen. But
well, never say never, because something really big happened in 2008, and I think that it can happen again.
But really, something big happened. Level. Define something really big happening. Heller. Well, he died like a year after the case passed. He was waiting so long.
Well, he didn't die before it happened, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, but what impact did it actually have on anything? Everybody's arguing about what that means. It
changed the argument, because the anti-gunners totally...
It changed the argument, but it didn't change the reality on the ground and like anywhere.
It kind of did, because that's a case that people consistently on our side go back to.
We talk about it, but it's like talking about one thing in Yankees chat, and the same subject goes over into lobby, but nothing has really changed.
It's not that we just talk about it. It's that lawyers and constitutionalist lawyers and people on the gun rights side use it successfully to gain more rights in other states. And that's exactly why there was 4 more states added to the constitutional carry list.
Because of Heller?
Pretty much.
I just wish South Carolina could have
it was truly a groundbreaking
didn't all those states have to pass those laws in addition on their own too? It wasn't just the case; they had to pass new laws, right?
Yeah, I believe some of them were on the ballot for in their gubernatorial elections or whatnot.
So the problem is that in reality, if you're behind, what do you call the line in between the free and the free states, the free rights, gun rights states, and is there, what do we call that line?
The Mason-Dixon line.
Mason-Dixon line.
All right. Well, I'm just saying it was a pretty groundbreaking ruling on our side from the
Yeah, but if you're on the it was, but
I'm just but this is what let me finish,
you're on the
because
wrong.
I know that you're not in the most freedom-loving state, and you have every right to be bitter about that, but you have also chosen to live in that state. So you can fight for it in Hawaii, or you can join another state that has more liberal gun laws.
No, that's not it. You have to, if you're on the wrong side of the Mason-Dixon line, if that's what we're calling
I don't
it.
even know what side Hawaii's on in that line. Are they below it? Because technically they're below that line.
Yeah, they are below it, but the problem is they're to the left of California, so I guess they're like the
They're not as
pro-California.
bad as California.
No. We're a B rating by the NRA. The problem is that if a gun law is unconstitutional in one state, see, there's, with all these circuit courts, we shouldn't have to wait for all these cases to percolate up, because that could be 200 years.
You shouldn't, but that's the whole point of activism, and I think you're doing your part for Hawaii as being would you consider yourself an activist with your YouTube channel and your informative? I think I would. So you're doing your part. Maybe, hopefully, you can recruit more people, not into believing what you believe in, but actually fighting for the freedoms that you think you should have in your state.
Hey, I'm just have a hard time even getting the gun shop owners to vote.
I understand that, because the same thing. I'm living in gun-loving Pennsylvania, and even sometimes we have to battle with the supposed pro-gun people that also live in the state, that are not as pro-gun as we'd like them to be. So it's almost a battle in every state.
If I could just jump in here real quick. I'm sorry, guys. I'm about to get ready to roll out. So
yeah,
first off, I just want to say I appreciate you hosting the chat and letting us join and doing this weekend wrap up. But one last thing that's happening this week, it hasn't happened yet, or it just started or whatever, but the Gun Rights Policy Convention is going on this weekend, and it's basically all of these, Second Amendment groups all getting together and talking strategy and helping people out, and I don't know, probably fundraiser, that kind of stuff. So that's just something to archive for history. It happened this week, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of videos of people talking about it, throughout the weekend and all through next week.
And also, Boehner quit this week too. So.
Yes, Boehner quit.
The house.
So, but I gotta run, so I'll see you guys later.
All right, thanks for joining.
Later, Smacks.
Thanks for
Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
Thanks for covering that first half with the chats for us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to try and do that every week. So hopefully sometime in the weekend, on Friday, kind of early night, or Saturday afternoon, maybe even Sunday or whatever, I'll be around, and hopefully we're going to have these chats at least, every week, and we can wrap up what's going on. So everyone out there and all you guys, take it easy.
Aloha.
All right, so we're the gun policy thing. G-Webs is going to be there, and I'm sure he'll have a lot of info when he gets back to share with us in the lobby or in a chat of his own.
He should totally take video.
Even on his channel on individual videos, and it should be real interesting, because I think that's pretty positive to have a whole lot of different gun rights organizations come together and strategize, or even just talk about what each one's doing with each other. So other than that, I'm probably going to wrap it up now, because we've been going about an hour, and I think we covered a lot of stuff. and we haven't had one of these weekend guns or the Gun Channels end of the week wrap up in a while. I think it went pretty well. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you panelist members that showed up and added to the discussion, which was pretty much all of you. Did a great job. And that's it. So everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week, hopefully, with another end of the week wrap up in guns. See you.